Just last week in South Africa, South Africa's highest court has unanimously ruled that all parents of newborns are entitled to equal parental leave. This is a landmark judgment hailed as a major victory for gender equality and family rights here in South Africa because under the current law, mothers are granted 4 months of leave while fathers would only receive just 10 days of leave. And this ruling by the Constitutional Court declared that parts of the legislation unconstitutional, but now is calling that this has been discriminatory against fathers and ruled that both parents can now share the granted leave however they choose. That is the forefront of today's debate because ever since this news came out in South Africa last week, there's been many people on either side of this discussion. Some saying, well, men aren't really the primary caregivers in many of our family households, and some of them may actually take advantage of this time off even without taking care of the child. Well, many others are saying, well, this is a breakthrough to families and the support that women need just after, and the children need as well, after they are born. So that's the debate topic on today's African View here on The Move. Should men who are not primary caregivers be entitled to parental leave? We're going to be having this conversation with two incredible guests. Joining us today is Bernard Sithole, Secretary of Dads in the Picture organization, also known for himself as a present father of 3 daughters, a male role model to his nephews and nieces, and passionate about the well-being of children. On the other side, we also have Michael Bagraim, who's a labor law specialist, who are going to be unpacking this conversation with us. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us in today's debate. It is quite an interesting one. I'm going to start with you, Bernard. Let's hear your opening statements and where you fall in this conversation. Should men who are not primary caregivers be entitled to parental leave?
All right. Good morning, and thank you for having us as Dads in the Picture.
Thank you.
As Dads in the Picture organization, we do welcome the Concord ruling because of it shows that both parents are equally important in the raising and the nurturing of the children. So it's important that as us, as parents, specifically fathers, it's necessary for us to be present and actively participate in our children's lives. So myself, as a parent who is also actively participating in my children's lives, it's important that this kind of an opportunity is created for us to ensure that we instill discipline, we nurture our children because of, absolutely speaking, and it's a reality and it's something that we cannot ignore. It's in the best interest of our children that they have both parents who are actively participating in their children's lives. So therefore, secondary caregivers, such as uncles, big brothers or grandfathers, are also role models, playing a father figure role in our children's lives. So that can be my starting point in discussing this important issue.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernard. Let's come to you, Michael. Where do you stand in this particular debate? Do you think that men should be entitled to parental leave, particularly if they are not the primary caregivers of their children?
Yeah, with all due respect to my colleague, Bernard Sithole, and Bernard, I apologize, but I do have a slightly different opinion on this. Although I welcome the judgment and I think it is in line with our constitution and I congratulate the court, I have particular problems in that the devil is in the detail. Let me give you some examples, and I've got lots of other examples where I could talk this down. But one is when the man is working, and he might be working with the wife or the girlfriend or the partner, then you've got 2 people taking off from the business, which might be a problem for the business. The second thing is many companies have policies in place where they pay the woman who gives birth, they pay a certain amount, and she might not be taking that from the UIF, she might not be taking that time off at all. That's the second problem. The third problem is, and some men do this, now I'm not discriminating against men, but some men have 2 or 3 partners. What happens if they have, they're going to get the 4 months, the wife has agreed or the girlfriend has agreed, and they've got 4 babies during that period. Can they take the year off because they're going to get 4 months from the maternity benefits from the UIF all that time? What about another situation? Some people are duplicitous. What happens if a woman who, her and her partner are giving birth, but they then say, listen, my brother or my best friend is a man, he works and maybe he can have some of our leave. Who's going to tell? We're going to do paternity tests each time a baby's born. I can throw a whole lot of examples from practice that might create problems. So what's going to happen now is that this judgment has been sent off to Parliament, to the Minister of Employment and Labour. Minister Meth now has to try and put detail to this so that we can take all those examples that I'm giving you, and I can think of 10 other examples where we can cheat and get money from the UIF. Now, I don't say people are inherently bad.
Sure.
But you're always going to have someone that's going to cause that trouble. Let's say I work, my friend's girlfriend and him are not working. I will collect the money from the UIF and then I'll share it with them. There are hundreds of ways. I don't want to teach people how to be crooks. And hopefully not too many people are watching me today.
It sounds like you're giving some great tips there, Michael.
Yeah, well,
All right,
these are very
sure.
bad. That's
All right,
crookery.
let's take this back to Bernard. Michael saying the whole thing is about the details that are going to be part of this whole new law. What's your take on that? Because it seems like this can be easily exploited in many ways that Michael has elaborated upon.
All right. In responding to your question and what my learned friend Michael has just said, unfortunately, when these laws are drafted and are approved, for example, and implemented, as parents, we are not being invited to participate. We are not being given an opportunity to also make input in that regard. So therefore, the lawmakers, they tend to decide on our behalf, not knowing our position and how we see things as parents. Unfortunately, in this regard, people like the Department of Employment and Labor, the Department of Public Service and Administration, the UIF and the trade unions and so forth and so on, obviously will have to come together and try to sort out these nitty-gritties when it comes to the systems or the processes and the procedures on how to implement this court ruling. But however, it's important that we need to ensure that the parties involved in this issue of secondary caregivers, of course, they need to be included in this instance because they are also present and participating in their children's lives. I've given an example earlier on about the uncles and the big brothers and grandfathers, who, as we speak, some of them are the ones taking care of those nieces and nephews and so forth and so on, because of the absence of those mothers to those children due to different reasons, or the absence of those fathers due to different reasons. Let's say, for example, you'll find in a rural area, both parents move, for example, to an economically active province like Gauteng or Western Cape, and those children are left behind with other family members, for example, uncles, as I've said, big brothers, as I've said, grandfathers, as I've said, and those secondary caregivers, as we call them, they are present, they're actively participating in those children's lives, and I believe those caregivers are full-time employed somewhere else, they should be entitled to that particular leave. And if I'm sure every parent now can say, if both parents will share 4 months and 10 days, according to us, as this is the picture, as I've said, we welcome the court ruling, but unfortunately, 4 months and 10 days is also not sufficient for both parents to share, and for those children or those newborns to be able to receive the love and care from both parents.
Yeah.
I think I need to be like this. For a newborn, it's important to bond with the both parents at that particular time. It's a very sensitive stage whereby a bond needs to be established and to be strong from both sides of the parents. So as I've said, the nitty-gritties, the systems on the processes, like Malene Fred Michael has just said, there are role players who will be playing part in those parts or sections of
Yeah.
processes on the policies, of course, when they're going to be amended and the basic conditions. But we feel that as parents, we need to be involved in the lawmaking when such laws are made, so be able to provide input in that distance.
Okay, Bernard, we need to take a break. Stay with us both on the line. Michael Bagraim and Bernard Sithole are joining us on today's debate. But of course, you can also join in on the debate. The question of today's debate is, should men who are not primary caregivers be entitled to parental leave? We continue our African View debate after this.
Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you'll be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
On the Move, weekdays, 9 a.m. to midday.
Only on Channel Africa. #On the Move.
Hey, it's Monday, so we definitely are starting on a good note today. Every second hour on a Monday, we have this wonderful feature that's robust, that's challenging, that makes us think. That's the African View, where we debate issues that are taking place in the African continent. Today, the question that we are debating: should men who are not primary caregivers be entitled to parental leave? We have two gents joining us for this one. Bernard Sithole is the Secretary of Dads in the picture, and also we have Michael Bagraim, who is a labor law specialist, to debate this one. We've already set the tone of the difference of thought between our guests, but Michael, someone else might say, hey, Michael is a typical old school man. He focuses on the hunt and is forgetting a little bit about the soft side of things in the family. And that's what Bernard is saying, like, hey, let's not forget that as men, we also have to be responsible for the caregiving in the home. And I think that's what you missed in your argument. Michael, how do you counter that?
Yeah, it's difficult to counter that. And of course, Bernard Sithole is right in the sense that it's wonderful for a child to have the bonding with both parents. But I'm trying to indicate that, and as I said earlier, the devil is in the detail. And so Bernard hit the nail on the head. I'll tell you why. Because this now, the court has thrown back to Parliament. The court is saying, we're not going to actually look at the machinery of this ruling. What the court has said is, I'm giving you 4 months from the UIF, paid by the UIF, giving you the 4 months, and it's for you to work it out, for the two parents to work it out. Now, obviously, the court hasn't thought about how people might try and bastardize the system. So Bernard is saying, we need to have our say when the Parliament itself starts putting together the nuts and bolts of this new motor vehicle that is going to be given to the people of South Africa. Now, that new motor vehicle is going to need input from people like Bernard Sithole and his organization. So there is a portfolio committee of employment and labor that is set up by Parliament that will be taking input from the public and from organizations as to the issues. Now, I sit on that portfolio committee, and I'm obviously going to mention the issues that might enter into the system to try and bastardize it, to try and somehow cheat the UIF and to cheat the businesses. But there are ways and means of doing it. For instance, you can say that the access to the 4 months can only happen once a year. Well, for the woman, it can only happen once a year because it takes her 9 months to give birth.
Yeah.
For the man, as I pointed out, it could happen 4 times a year. So if you have 4 times 4 is 16 months. He can take 16 months off. But that the Parliament is going to, one hopes that our MPs are wise and that they look at these issues and they say, we've got a good piece of legislation, a good piece of proposal for legislation, and the court has said we have to do it. But how do we stop all these loopholes from appearing on various occasions? Now, also the other thing you need to remember, it's only, the court has said it's only for the parents. It's not for the uncle and for the grandfather and whatever. They might want to give some money to the uncle and grandfather to help, but it's only for the parents. And you don't want a father, a nasty father, to say, this is fantastic, I'll take the 4 months, I'm a bully. You stay home, you're not going to take the 4 months, but you can stay home and take unpaid leave, and I'm going to go fishing. And so we need to put a stop to that somehow. Not going to be easy. This is a long road. The court has given a certain amount of time and for the Parliament to come up to close this. And there'll be court cases thereafter where a business will say, well, we've noticed that the husband's not even in the town. Why is he getting the... he's disappeared. He's supposed to help the child. So there is a softer side, and I agree with that entirely. And we need to make this work.
Bernard, let me come back to you because even though it sounds like Michael is coming from a very legislative side of this conversation, he makes valid points towards the end saying, we do have, unfortunately, a little bit of a pandemic of fatherlessness in South Africa and many parts of the African continent. And now with this law, fathers, you are saying, yes, this is a breakthrough for families. Fathers can be part of the lives of their children and help raise them, which sounds like it's a fantastic thing, but there are abuses that can take place, like the example that Michael just used to say the father can say, you take unpaid leave, I'm going to take the 4 months leave, get paid, but on the everyday basis I'm not actually going to participate in the raising and the growth of the child. I'm not going to be helping you when you're not breastfeeding, making the food. I'm not going to be holding the baby to make sure that when they're awake they don't cry, especially if they don't need feeding. I'm not actually going to participate the way that I should be, but I'm going to get the great fruits of this parental leave that the law has now given me. How do we make sure, if there is any way, Bernard, that men who do take this leave are active participants in the raising of these children?
All right, thank you for the question. I think if from the researches and the surveys that were conducted recently, and looking with my own experience with the fathers that are part of our organization, the reality is there are thousands, if not millions of fathers who are now striving, and I think striving it's an underweight, who are fighting to be in their children's lives, but unfortunately they are being denied in that regard due to different reasons, of course. But so far, I think with this opportunity, they are able to revise and review their decisions that indeed it's important for them to be part. Unfortunately, it's a reality that we cannot force other fathers to be in their children's lives. They have their own reasons, but however, we are trying on our side as the organization to show them their importance in a child's life and ensuring that they are actively participating. The issue of the systems, like you're asking, there are always gaps in the systems. There are always, unfortunately, loopholes in the systems. But I really feel for the reality to really kick in for both parents. I think the Concord ruling, it was proper, it was appropriate, and basically it was long overdue. So on our side as the organization, we will really encourage fathers to ensure that with the opportunity that is now has come to our doors as fathers, let's really take it with both open hands, and let's ensure that we really do justice to our children. Because of, as you can see, it's a reality. You can go to parent meetings in our schools or daycares. These days we find many fathers are there, 50% or more. Is fathers or uncles or big brothers and so on. You can see on the roads, fathers is them who are taking children to school and to creches and so on, and they even contribute financially. It's all about ensuring that we also sensitize our female counterparts to really allow us to be part of our children's lives. Hence, this important court ruling that came in favor of both parents, of course, was the most important party is the children in this instance, or the newborn in this instance.
Of
So
course.
we encourage fathers that we really to take this opportunity in with both hands to ensure that we do justice to this court ruling. It's an opportunity for us, and we hope for many more opportunities to come, such as this.
All right, Bernard, and thank you so much to both of you, Bernard and Michael, for taking part in this particular debate today. We have run out of time of that conversation, but quite interesting and very important viewpoints from both sides.
Very intricate and definitely complex. I think the next few months will be determining on how that particular.
Thank you ever so much for giving me the opportunity.
Sure, it's
Really
a pleasure.
appreciate it.
It's
Thank
a pleasure, gents. And as I was saying, like, the next few months will actually give us a bit of a direction in which to know how that particular legislation will unfold. Remember, we have our On the Move poll that's happening at Channel Africa 1 is the handle on X. We're asking you, should men who are not primary caregivers be entitled to parental leave? Giving you three options, simple ones, a simple yes, a simple no, and also a third unsure. Give us your thoughts on that one. Let's quickly move on right now. It's 10:32 Central African time. Did you see the Pirates goal this weekend, Bali?
No, let's go to our sports news.
Well, looking forward to that. Mr. Woody, what do you have for us?
Sports on Channel Africa.
The African Perspective.